The other day I was trying to get this to just record the game screen and not the whole monitor. And then I finally came up with an idea where I liked it having the whole monitor. Now it won't do the whole monitor. Either way, this is a chestnut. This is a black. These are your two base colors on horses. Everything else, at least the way I kind of learned it, helped me kind of, I found this helpful to think of it this way, is there's really two colors, black and chestnut. Everything else is a variant of these colors. And so bay, controlled by a different gene, and anybody who knows horses, this will probably, maybe this is a different way of thinking of it, but they'll be like, okay, yeah, I assume they'll be like, yeah, it makes sense. So, like, because the bay here uh, it's more of a pattern if you think about it, because it restricts where black and red kind of show, and they show in certain areas. Whereas this is all one color, all one color. And I came from a background of breeding rabbits, which I did extensively, and I know rabbit genetics inside and out, color genetics, and that's how I was kind of taught rabbits. Was there was two colors, black and chocolate, and everything else was a variant of that that either adjusted how the color was spread, how it was, what parts of the body it showed on, etc. And so going into horses like that, these are kind of your three base colors. Really, it's these two, but bay is kind of, this is kind of like, is the which at the base of your horse's genetics, is it, which one of these three is it, and then how does things play out from there? And so going to this next thing, I noticed in the wiki of the horse genetics, the realistic horse genetics Minecraft mod wiki by the creator, they talked about a few genes, and they had a link to this little horse picture thing, which might have showed up briefly at the start of this video off to the side, and then my thing probably went to full Minecraft screen. I'll try to throw up some pictures or something if I can, but I'm mostly doing this because I really wanted to ask questions about it. I don't want to be like a hardcore content creator. I just have questions, and I got on the bandwagon late for this. And so this gene, I am 100% certain this is the Rabicano gene, where it takes, this is a chestnut, this is a black, these are bays. This guy has white socks, but with the dark hair, he's a bay. But these sprinkling of white hairs on the underside and a little bit of light at the base of the tail, if they would quit, the buggers always want to look at you, which is nice in some ways, but also not when I'm trying to get a side shot for color. So we've got a chestnut Rabicano with the white hairs on the underside, black Rabicano, two different shades of bay Rabicano. And I know there was on one of the Reddits for this mod, the creator said that they had put in shades. And so this kind of, I appreciate the realism, but it also confuses me. Like, I understand not every bay in real life is the same shade of bay. Not every chestnut. A black should be pretty black, but even still, there's probably a little bit of shading there. But part of me is like, I was really kind of hoping to come and almost relearn the genetics of the horses with this and see them in action by breeding them and stuff. And so throwing shades at me is like throwing shade, and I'm like, I don't like it. Because I was like, okay, are these both bay? Is one just a darker bay? And then to skip down the line here, what about this booger, who's much darker? Still clearly a bay, dark legs. I've got their little genetics book here. Oh, I haven't tamed that one yet. But I'm okay. So that sucks on me, because now everybody will be like, you don't know, that could be something else in there. There's not a lot of genes in the little book that make things darker. Most of the genes make stuff lighter, is my argument for this. Now I do have this guy's book, because this I was like, okay, maybe it's sooty, because sooty is one thing that will put dark hairs primarily on the back, but throughout the horse, thereby making them darker. And so if that's dark, but if that's sooty, what is this? I've had this come up. At first, because I actually had this come up first, and I thought this maybe was sooty to look like they were sprinkled with dirt. I was like, is this sooty? But then I was like, I've had several things like these. Like, this looks like an extra dark extra dark bay. These two have identical genetics. To me, this looks buckskin. I had a horse named Duster that was a buckskin, hence the name. But this looks like the right shade to me for buckskin. This has identical genetics, so is this, which would make me think buckskin, but it's much darker. Is it a sooty buckskin? These are the questions I have. And if this isn't a sooty bay, what is it? There are clear, defined speckles on this horse. And I was like, okay, is it dapple? Because dapple isn't mentioned at all in the genetics, unless you're talking silver dapple here, which is just a gene about lightening the mane. And as you can see, none of that here. That gene is a dominant gene trait. We have got 2 recessives here. Oh, well, that's about lightening the mane, so I don't know what, but still, that's, if this is a dapple, it's the other kind of dapple that I always thought of as dapple, was the speckles on the side. Go down here. This would be a little bit more like what that Z gene would look like because it lightens the mane, but this one is not a Z, a silver dapple, see? None of that. So I did some genetic testing. This is a flaxen, which is mentioned on the wiki, and I was like, okay, so they clearly put Rabicano in here, even though it's not in the little book. They clearly put flaxen, even though it's not in the little book. So I'm assuming they put sooty in. So are these sooty? Because that kind of makes sense. This is darker. The darkness is on the back mostly. What is this? I don't understand. So before this video gets too long, this is mostly what I wanted to kind of see if anybody else out there could offer some insight. Anybody else with a lot of horse breeding experience or anything like that. Thank you.